Everyone, welcome back to another edition of the show. I just checked the date. It's August 30th, 2023. This month's just about over, and we're here in Congress, the Congress Street office at Flow Sports. It's makeshift, temporary studio, the new one, big one coming upstairs. But our first show out of this studio, and I'm pumped about today's guest. The guy has been in wrestling for I think about his whole life, and he was at Oklahoma State. Just finished up 21 years there, and is moving to Colorado Springs. Or maybe he has, but he's going to become the national developmental coach for freestyle athletes, resident athletes at Colorado Springs at USA Wrestling. It's Zack Esposito. Zack, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Bader? It's good to see you. And I feel very privileged to be first guest in the new studio. Then
that's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, we're cracking the egg, breaking this place in. So thanks for joining us today. So big news in college wrestling. You know, like we've said this, but you were at Oklahoma State for 21 years as an athlete. You're NCAA champ. You went on and coached for a long time. You coached, team trophies. You had individual national champions. But I do know, or I think maybe freestyle is your first love. I know you really like freestyle, whether or not it's your first love. Well, when did you get involved? How old were you when you started wrestling? But really, what I want to know is how old when you started wrestling freestyle?
Oh, I mean, I think freestyle. I mean, to just kind of get into it, it's just been a major passion of mine. I think, I remember, as a young kid, I'll be 40 here in about a week.
Woo!
Yeah, right. So I think I remember, watching the '92 Olympics. So fairly young there, but then in '96 is when I truly actually, recognized the Olympics and watched Kendall Cross win an Olympic gold medal, and watch Tom Brands and Kurt Angle and all these guys win an Olympic title. And I think that was the time when you start to really go, man, this is literally the highest achievement in not just your sport, but in any sport, to me, to be able to represent your country. So in order the way to get there was either, freestyle or Greco. And freestyle was just something I was always so passionate about. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, you always hear kids talk about which one was more fun, and they always go, freestyle was more fun. And I don't know if that's because of the way it's laid back, or the different tournaments, or the cool different places you get to visit. But what's so unique about it is that it's not limited to just your country. You're opened up to the entire world. And I'll never forget moments, being at the World Championships and being at the Olympics with OSU guys and everything. But I'll never forget one of the first times I coached a cadet world team. Kevin Jackson was coach, and one of the guys won, and he was like, Kevin, he's a fired up kind of guy. And he tells the kid, he's like, world champ, and the kid's like, yeah, he's like, best in the world. And then when he said that, it kind of just like, wow, you're literally the best wrestler in the world at that weight class. And when he kind of said that, it's just like, wow, that's incredible. So for me, that's the pinnacle of the sport, to be the best in the world. And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of people that have done it. Been fortunate to be watching them train to do it. I've been fortunate to be in their corner while they won medals, and to be able to share in moments like that is for me incredible. And just to have a little piece of to be able to contribute to the country and to people reaching for their great dreams and goals. I mean, that's so fulfilling, as a person.
Yep.
So I started probably young. I mean, I can't even remember. I can't even remember when I first started wrestling. I just was like that little kid getting dragged to practice with his older brothers because my mom was not going to drive to 8 different places for different sports. She's like, you're the youngest. You're just going where we're all going.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. As far as You mentioned some of the reasons you like freestyle because it's worldwide. You can go far places, but you weren't as a youth, right? You probably weren't traveling overseas and trying to be the best in the world. But what is it about the sport itself? Like you said, is it the laid back? It's a little bit more laid back than folk style, or the on the mat wrestling itself? Is there something about freestyle that you prefer, wrestling wise, over folk style?
Yeah, I think, throughout the years, the rules have changed quite a bit. So at times, there were times when people could get frustrated with freestyle. Like in my career, it went from, a clinch where we were locked around the body.
Yeah.
And you would literally see people jockeying for this position for about a minute on the mat, to when I started, got into that scene. It was the best out of 3 periods. And
the dark
in my opinion, that was like the dark era of freestyle wrestling. And I really feel like right now, the rules in freestyle, they really got it right, in the sense of like, there's always action, in the sense of like, no one's going to hold out to take something to overtime and be afraid to make mistake. There's always this sense of anxiety while you're wrestling. And it's kind of also like when you get into coaching of it, is creating these anxious type of situations where you have to keep your composure and keep your mind set, because the last point scores wins. I think that is just something there's always that action, and the match is going to end at that time. It's not going to go on forever and ever and ever. That, and just you get to see the best of the best wrestle each other, and sometimes you might not always get that just in the country, but you get to create these scenarios of this country versus this country, and you don't want politics ever to come into sport. But there's a big thing when USA wrestles Iran or Russia wrestles USA and all those kind of things. So to see that is really cool. But skill wise too, it's incredible, because I always say, like, you're not going to see a really, really good guy get teched in folk style, but you could see him get teched in freestyle. Definitely. Whether a guy gets a trap arm gut or he gets a leg lace, and it's an explosive sport to watch. You see high amplitude throws, and good guys could get thrown. And I was watching the cadet, the U17 Worlds and U20 Worlds with my buddy, and he's just getting into wrestling, and I started introducing him to freestyle wrestling, and he's like, man, what's that move where they get low on the legs and then they just roll across the mat? I'm like, that's called an ankle lace. He's like, I want to call it a gator roll because it looks like a gator rolling around. I'm like, nah, it's an ankle lace, but yeah, it's exciting. I'm like, here, go down. Let me put you in this move and show you how it hurts. And just go. So that's that's my love for it. It's just giddy, and it takes skill to win in freestyle, and I think that's what it's the highest level. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So I think most people know the scenario. James Green was the developmental coach. He retired, became the developmental coach, kind of unretired, and I think he had surgery maybe to fix his hip or something like that. So what was it that prompted you to want to, like, hey, make the transition, come on out to Colorado Springs and take on this developmental position?
For me, it happened a while ago. It was a decision that I made, for myself and for my family and for my career. But it's really just a passion of mine, especially with the development. What better way, so my first trip that I'm going on, or that I know of right now, is the U15 Pan Am Championships, and you're working with 15-year-olds, and what more and a better opportunity as a coach can he play as being influential to a kid in his career, and to be able to work with young kids. I have an 11-year-old son, and I was heavily involved with the youth club around here, the Cowboy Wrestling Club, and you're in it for that purity of the sport. And I'm not saying college, you're not in it for the purity of sport, but there's a lot of other challenges that come in college athletics, especially right now, what you're seeing. But when this job opened up, I always thought, it was always a great job. And when I look at the lineage of coaches that have come through this position from, for as far back as I remember Sergey was there, went Cejudo, and then I remember, Kevin Jackson, Bill Zack, Terry Brands, and recently James, Brandon Slay. And I look at the lineage of coaches that have come through it, and I'm like, to be among those names as a person that can contribute to the development and help create future champions for the USA. I mean, to me, I'm like, that gets me giddy. It gets me excited. It gets me like fired up to be able to do that. So when that opportunity came up, I threw my name in the hat because this is a passion and something that I knew and know that I'll love to do. So it was a long process, went through the whole thing with it, and finally it comes down to it and they go, hey, we want you to be the development and residence coach. And then now, it really hits the fan, and then you got to make that decision of, okay, I've been here for 21 years at Oklahoma State, I'm associate head coach. Am I going to make this change and make this move? And for me, the opportunity of going to it was something I couldn't pass up. So that's where I'm at today. And tomorrow I drive out to Colorado Springs and I start on Friday.
Oh, awesome. So you're right around the corner.
Yeah.
So 21 years at Oklahoma State, I guess probably 16 as a coach. We kind of laid out some of the differences between coaching college and coaching these 15-year-olds and everything else. How did college coaching change over those 15 or 16 years you were there? Maybe more so in recent years with NIL and portal, but I'm sure just overall it's changed. I'm not for the better or for the worse. Probably has changed and been probably a little bit different.
Yeah, it's just a different landscape. I mean, I've been here for 21 years. I came out to Stillwater, Oklahoma at 18, 19 years old. 18 turning 19, and from myself wrestling to where it is today, I mean, one, it's become way more competitive. I just always say this example of like, I didn't even know South Dakota State had a team when we were wrestling, and now you got a two-time national champ and a guy that's in the finals. But Northern Colorado's got an NCAA champ, with a national champ as their head coach, and Wyoming and these other schools that are like, it's become more competitive. There's no off weekends now. You never know who you're going to run into, that weekend. So I think in that sense, our sport in college has got a lot of resources put into it, and a lot of people that were good wrestlers are now coaching at these colleges, making names for themselves, and just like I said, way more competitive than when I was wrestling. So I think that's been a big change in it. So always being on your game. Obviously, the latest stuff now with NIL and transfer portal and all those things are just different landscape. But I still think that at the core of what makes you successful, I think that still can remain the same. The sense of community, the sense of culture, the sense of the coaches you have on your staff, to the type of kids and the type of environment you're trying to create, and the skill and the technique. I think that stuff has kind of stayed the same, but maybe a little bit different in the kids' approach and parents, involvement of parents, a lot different than when I was in school and probably when you were in school too. So it's evolved for the better in a sense of skill and competition. Is it evolving in the right way? That's the best thing for the sport with NIL and transfer. There's a bit of fear there with it, and I think that as colleges and everything, to be able to get a grip on it and let this play out, and I don't want to say survive, but be resilient through this time as programs throughout the country. I think it will pass in a few years, and things start to get normal, or it creates a new normal. So
when you say you think it'll pass in a few years, do you mean like you think it'll change NIL, I assume you're talking about, or go away, or just become like more under control?
I think it'll be more under control. It won't go away. I don't think NIL will go away. I think there'll be a little bit more of a grip on it. But who knows what happens with the NCAA, and who knows what everything turns into. Obviously college coaches and everything, we're going to have to fight and even stay together just to protect programs and protect people. Honestly, like NIL, it's a tough thing. I think the transfer portal is something that's probably needs to be addressed even before NIL, just because I was at Oklahoma State, and not just in wrestling, but in other sports, you see the competitiveness, like for football and everything. You get a guy that, Alabama doesn't go and recruit, and this kid's a 3-star athlete, and they get developed into a 5-star athlete. Well, he doesn't owe loyalty to the university. So at the one point, it's like, either the homegrown kids in Oklahoma, they're going to stay there and be loyal to it, or, there are going to be people that really depend on the sport for their family and, are not going to be, looked down upon for going to another university because of the opportunity that benefits their family. So I think the transfer portal is something that will be addressed for it. And then, then I think NIL and all that kind of stuff, I think it'll, iron itself out, and people will, that's what I mean. It's like, it's gotten so competitive. It's gotten so competitive in the sense of like, people want to win. People want to win, and people get paid good salaries to win. And they're going to do what they have to do to keep up.
Yeah.
So I think though, I think it, probably 3 to 5 years, hopefully it starts to, like I said, it'll probably just become a new normal, and people will be more, just a better grip on it, a better acceptance to it, and just find a better way to operate, through it.
Yeah, and NIL is not directly, but maybe it's tied to recruiting, or at least recruiting's a big part of a job of a college coach, with or without NIL, right? It's a really big part. There's the coaching aspect on the mat. There's all these things. Recruiting, huge. You're going to be probably still recruiting, but in a different sense, right? So explain to me like what that entails and who you're looking for. Are you going to be actively recruiting high school kids to come do the Kyle Snyder or the Henry Cejudo plan, or now this has developed a little bit more into a norm as well?
Yeah, I think like what I'm most excited about this job is those type of opportunities. The thing that I take to the table with USA Wrestling is that, I've been a college coach for 14 years. I mean, like, I've been at OSU for so long that I don't even know how many years. Like, people will go, like, how many years have you coached? I'm like, I have to literally go in my head and be like, who was the first group of guys I recruited, and count from there. It's just always been a part of me. So I think, like, the one thing that's I'm excited about it is that I bring a little bit of that college knowledge, to USA Wrestling, and that sense of recruiting and development and all those type of things too. But I also like the college side of it too. And I'll get to the kind of the point of what I'll be doing, with the residence program. But I'm excited to work with the other colleges, and I really think that I'll be able to provide a good mediator, between USA Wrestling and the colleges and the RTCs, because I understand what the frustrations were for college coaches and the workload that's put on college coaches, and to be able to recognize that and try to do my very best to show the colleges and RTCs that I'm working for them just as much as they're helping the United States and in their guys. So that I'm really excited about, and being able to show my loyalty to USA Wrestling and show, that. And at the same time, I'm like super excited about learning from the other coaches too. I mean, 21 years at Oklahoma State, and I had a heck of a mentor in Johnson, who in my mind is one of the greatest minds of all of sports, in the sense of skill, technique, and just, way you kind of just, just like just the way they think is different. You're dealing with a savant, in the way they think. So that kind of stuff. So with that kind of goes into, what I'll be doing at USA Wrestling with the residence program. So I'm going to be doing the U15 Pan American Championships, U17 Worlds, U20 Worlds, U23 Worlds, help Bill and Joe and in any sense that I can for the senior level guys. So I'll be busy with that kind of stuff. But then on top of it, I'll be doing the residence program, which, we will offer support to the colleges and RTCs and guys wanting to come out for training camps or times to train. Hey, you get an opportunity for a week here, come on out. You get an opportunity for a month here, come on out. And then really to try and create it into this training environment where it's going to, we want it to be the premier place to train for the development of kids. Like, Kyle Snyder, Mark Hall, it was important for Mark Hall to win, 6 high school state titles. But with that, though, he used a lot of time and came out to Colorado Springs and trained. Kyle Snyder, it wasn't as important for him to go win 4 Maryland state titles. So for him, he moved out his senior year full time. So having those opportunities for high school seniors or people that we can bring in to train full time and go to international tournaments, go to college opens, go to senior level training camps, international training camps, all those type of things to keep them on track to develop to be world and Olympic champions at an earlier age. Gap year kids that are taking that gap year between colleges, high school and college, that's a great opportunity for them to come out and train. Olympic red shirts, and really just, like I said, it's just providing this environment. When I was training, like when I was in that sense, I mean, Olympic Training Center was the place to be. Mm-hmm. But this was before RTCs and everything. It was the place to be. Terry Brains was the residence coach. Kevin Jackson was the national team's coach. Steve Mako was there training Cejudo. They put 2 guys on the Olympic team. One won the Olympics. The other one, Mako took 5th. And they had guys. It was a great environment. So my goal is to be able to do those type of things and help create the funding for it and provide high level coaching. And like I said, it's going to take a community to do it. It's going to take the entire wrestling community to do it. And I feel like I'll be that good mediator between the colleges, RTCs, and USA Wrestling, that they trust us to develop their guys and keep them on track.
And all these, you talked about maybe kids doing the Kyle Snyder thing or mm-hmm. red shirts or Olympic red shirts or like, all these ideas of people to, I think, recruit and come train out. Is it just that or like, if, let's say I'm in college and I'm going to red shirt or I'm taking an Olympic red shirt, mm-hmm. like, I want to go train in Colorado. Do I contact you? Do I hit up USA Wrestling? How, you know what I'm saying? Like how?
Yeah, they would. Most likely it'll be. I've had people reach out to me already. Just kids going like, "Hey, I can't. I'd love to get there." Whether kids or whether even was college guys. And they would communicate. Preferably it would go through their coaches, and their coaches would communicate with me, going like. If X coach at X university says, hey, I have this guy, he's training for U23 Worlds. We're right now in our preseason. He could really use some freestyle work. Can I get him to come out? Okay, yeah, boom, here, come out. Okay, how long do you want to stay? Okay, 2 weeks. Okay, let's do this. Boom, let's do that. Okay, well, we have enough guys. Let's create a training camp now. So a lot of it also, I also don't want to speak out of terms because, a little bit is, I've been at Oklahoma State for 21 years. And I'm ambitious, and I'm eager, to get there and start working. And, so a little bit is when I get there to be able to understand the whole process to this too, like bed space. If we don't have bed space, how do we go to this type of deal? And like just all those other, like the logistics stuff, it's typical wrestling coach. You say yes before you know the logistics.
Let's
go. But no, yeah. So preferably it'd be like the coaches and for the younger guys, the parents reaching out to me and then discussing with my peers at USA Wrestling and my higher ups to go, okay, we want to do this. Let's figure out how to do it. That's how it'll be.
Yeah. And one thing you said about Oklahoma State, I don't know. I mean. I feel silly for never even having thought of it like this. Like John Smith was my coach, my mentor. Let's face it, he's a savant. Well, duh. Like, I just, like, in my head, I'm like, no, he's just a great wrestler. But, like, all great wrestlers, great, you name it, lacrosse, track, all of them at the highest level, it's their minds as much as their physical capabilities, right? They're smart, they're intelligent, they're high performing. And, John, you said that he's a savant, and there's no doubt. Maybe just explain, just peek back behind the curtain a little bit, what it's like working under a savant, working under one of the greatest ever, and some of the things that you took from that experience.
As an athlete, he was still wrestling with us too.
Yeah.
So that sucked. No, but it was really cool because you could understand like how good he was. I mean, this guy was, high 30s, just beating the crap out of us. I mean, I literally seen him beat guys before they went to the Olympics, and this guy was 35 years old. Which is incredible. But I think a lot of it also was like when I was wrestling, our relationship was beyond the coach and athlete. I felt really, not only just him, but the Smith family, with Pat Smith, another guy that was the first 4-time national champ. So I think like when he took it to a personal level, for me, it was way more effective than him just treated me X's and O's, just to know that he was in my corner, he supported me, and he believed in me. It's like, that's all I needed, show me some technique here and there. But like also though, the difference between him and maybe some other coaches that I've seen coach is the detail in positions. I mean, from a low single leg, the way he was able to react to really, the crackdown position, which is one of the hardest positions in wrestling, especially in freestyle, because again, it flipped, and just being able to master those positions, and just his mindset of his philosophy of wrestling, of just going, you score takedowns, you're going to win a lot of matches. His philosophy of going out there, going like, go try and score 100 takedowns. I mean, that was real. And unfortunately, it was real when he still wrestled with us. But as a coach, coaching under him, I got to see him, throughout his whole time, or at least, a big part of his time. I mean, I've coached and wrestled on some of the greatest teams at Oklahoma State, and I've been a part of some of the worst teams at Oklahoma State. I don't know. It's hard to explain what it's like coaching for him, because just because it's like he gives you a lot of freedom to make mistakes, which is great. And then at the same time, he's got a high expectation for you in what you're doing too. So if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Just the way you take approach to things. I mean, you might think of this way of doing it, and then he kind of explains his way and the idea of why, and then you realize like, oh, this guy thinks at a different wavelength than what normal people think. I never even thought of it that way. And he's seeing things that are happening, 6 months from now rather than, in the moment. I mean, it's just every day was a learning experience for me.
Sure. I want to go back just a little bit. Like, you talk about wrestling with him. I didn't even think about that. Of course, yeah, he's probably still wrestling when you were competing. Maybe just describe wrestling against John Smith in the practice room. Obviously, he didn't do it in matches, but yeah, like what? Maybe the first time, what surprised you, or just what was? I mean, I can think of the reasons he was so good.
I think, I'm thankful that I never had to wrestle with him when he was a competitor, like actually competing, because people say like Brands were intense. John Smith is a different type of intensity. I mean, just way different in that sense. I mean, everyone talks about John's technique and skill and all this, but the dude is so competitive and just like vicious. you know, vicious in a good way, like in that sense. But like, you know, I would have hated it because he would have just tried to torture you the whole time. You know, I think the first time I wrestled him was like my true freshman year. You know, I was ranked 1 and 2 in the country as a true freshman, and I won a match with him, and it just was his speed, his strength, and just everything just destroyed. You know, just destroy you. You know, and you know, he'd come in like in the summertime. I'd always nag him to go work out, like pop up in his office. I'm like, let's go, come on, let's go work out, let's go work out. And he'd come down to the wrestling room and he'd do one of these type of stretches, you know, and then he'd get on your head, and then you'd start drilling, and about 10 minutes into it, all of a sudden, that's when the workout really began. And you know, for the next 30 minutes, it wasn't so much of what you think is only technique. It was you like working through this different type of intensity, you know, and this had a resiliency. And then that's when it, like I said, that's when it really like the workout would start. But I remember watching him, you know, in 2004, right before the Olympics. I seen him wrestle with Guerrero and just, you know, beat up the Guerrero. And then honestly, to tell you the truth, he wrestled with Jamil Kelly, and that was like the first time Jamil, you know, was able to crack through. And what's funny is that John was maybe mid-30s at the time, or maybe 40, and it was like Jamil finally was able to get a win on him. And Jamil goes, it's like, I knew I was ready to win the Olympics then. I'm like, after you beat like a 40-year-old man. But it was John, you know, so that was what so I mean, yeah, it's just wrestling with, you know, it's be like playing basketball with Michael Jordan, you know.
I'm sure he's still really good. Michael. Well, and John. I'm sure John can still go, even though he's probably mid 50s, 57 or something like that. So looking back, you know, at I keep saying it's 21 years at Oklahoma State. You know, I'm trying to think of like, or ask about like things that stand out. Maybe it was the first time you worked out with John, but you know, I'm thinking of like one time as an athlete. It can be coach, it can be riding the bus, it can be practice, it can be competition. But one example as an athlete, and one example as a coach, just memories that stand out. And I'm sure you have a zillion, so maybe this is a tough question. But
it's a tough one. But you know, my teams were incredible. I've been very fortunate to be on some great teams. I mean, you know, in 2005. You know, every year I wrestled at Oklahoma State, we won a national title. You know, we won 4 straight all the years that I wrestled. And then in 2005, we had 5 champs and 7 All-Americans. And the 2005 team was incredible. It was, you know, Steve Mocco and Johnny Hendricks, Jake Rolsholt, Chris Pendleton, myself, and then, you know, Coleman took, you know, place that year as a freshman, and Daniel Fishborn, and we had Nathan Morgan on the team, who ended up being incredible. So like, honestly, like the road trips and that kind of stuff, cutting weight together, all that stuff was just you know, incredible. But you know, I think obviously the best memories of winning the national title, you know, that's incredible too. And I think what's more exciting is like the year I won it, you know, it wasn't just me that did it. It was a group of guys that came together as a whole and performed to their best. But I mean, Mako was always he was always, you know, he had stories after stories, you know, being there. He was so intense. I think the first time Steve showed up from Iowa, Johnny Thompson was like, I got some chicken from KFC. I'm gonna bring it over to him as an offering gift to him. You know, like things like that. You know, one time we were on the bus and we were wrestling. We wrestled Northern Iowa, and we didn't wrestle our best. You know, we didn't wrestle our best, and John was kind of getting on to us about, you know, like, you guys look slow, you look sluggish. You know, if weight is a problem, you need to adjust your weight. You need to focus. You know what makes you gain weight? You know what makes you gain weight? What makes you gain weight? And Steve's like, eggs. He's like, well, you never cut weight before, Steve, so you know what it's like. I mean, just honestly though, those times, I mean, camps. Honestly, like right now camps are so different because everyone's got like their individual camps, and now all these guys are able to really kind of go out and make money, on their own, and they make a lot of money on their own, doing their own private camps, or coaches having them out. But when I was in school, we did 2 weeks of camp at OSU. Then we'd get into a car and we drive to Reno, like a 24-hour drive to Reno, and then do 2 weeks of camp in Reno. And really, honestly, that was the best time that I've ever had with my teammates because it was out of the season. Could you imagine taking 20-something kids to Reno, Nevada for 2 weeks to do camp? And there's no air conditioning in the dorm rooms. So Shane Roller would go to Walmart, buy an air conditioner unit, put it in the window, and at the end of camp, go take it back to get our money back. Just like things like that is what you miss the most. As a coach, I mean, there's so many moments. Nick Piccinini, obviously, I don't want to say because of Spencer and stuff, but that was one of the most incredible moments in Gallagher Iva history. You say it. Guys winning national titles. Alex Derringer, going overseas with Alex Derringer while he's competing. Those times. And then even moments of one time we had a heavyweight that was a walk-on, and every day he came to the room and he did what you told him, and he was there, and he knew he was there as a partner for Austin Marsden. Well, one time Austin Marsden got hurt and he got the nod to start against Arizona State, and he won a match. And moments like that where it was fulfilling as a coach. Where you see a guy that was never going to be a starter or not, and he got an opportunity, he had a moment in his life that he could always look back on and be like, I stepped on the mat in Gallagher and I won. So there's so many different things, and so to pinpoint it on is just hard.
Yeah, absolutely. But those are all great examples that you gave us. Another question before we get to just a couple segments at the end. Mm-hmm. Looking ahead, whether it's 1, 5, 10, 20, the rest of your coaching career, and maybe you're like, yo, I'm just starting this. Let me get into this. But is there, would you like to eventually move up and maybe do what Bill's doing? Would you like to become a college head coach, or is it like, man, this is what I'm doing right now. We'll figure that out later.
The approach I always took in my career, and maybe to the outside public, they see me at Oklahoma State for 21 years, and I've coached here for 14 years. And obviously, the older Coach Smith gets, and everyone, people start talking like, who's the next head coach? Who's this? Who's that? And my approach was never the intention of this is my goal. Like, I want to be the next head coach here, or I want to, like you said, go on to do Bill's job, or go on to do whatever, come back as it. My approach was always like even at OSU, my loyalty was the program, the university, department, and to Coach Smith. I never did it with the full intention of this. I always took the approach because to me, it's kind of, I don't know, and maybe I'm an idiot for thinking this way, but I just thought it was always hypocritical for a coach to have types of goals like that. And the reason I say that is because I feel like your duty as a coach and what you do as a coach is help others achieve their goals and achieve their dreams. And you do things for the right reasons, and you help them, become better people and better wrestlers and all those things. And then if you do that, I always was like, if I do that and I help them that way, opportunities will always come. And when they do come, then I can assess it and then make a decision about it. So the things about OSU as a next head coach, or a head coach somewhere else, or at USA Wrestling, or whatever it might be, it's I wouldn't say I don't want to put that pressure on myself, but I just thought it was always just, I'm like, I don't think ambition works well as a coach, in the sense of ambition for yourself and in your sense of that career. I mean, I think you take advantage of opportunities that come your way, but the job is to help the kids. The job is to do that. So if you do that, you're always going to have that opportunity. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, whatever kind of comes. But I'm always going to just do it for the right reasons. And when those opportunities come up, then I'll assess it.
Sure.
From there.
Yeah, great answer. Okay, last thing, moving into just a couple of segments, and I know you've been on the show before. I may or may not have asked you this, but I'm gonna ask you again, and if you give the same answer, great. If it's different, that's cool. But it's called wins and whoopins, right? So if thinking over the span of your entire career, thinking of one win that stands out as memorable, anywhere from kids club to junior high school, college, senior level, for whatever reason it's memorable. It doesn't even have to be like a great win. It can just be, this kid used to kick my butt and I finally beat him, or anything. One win, and then but one whooping where that is more like, man, I just got my ass kicked. Bad. This guy beat me up and I came off the mat. We've all had them, except maybe John Smith. I'm sure he's got whooped up too at some point. But like one win that stands out.
Leroy Smith put plenty on him at a young age.
Yeah, right. We've all been beat up, but one win stands out, and then one whooping you've taken. You can do either one first.
One win. One whooping that stands out is like, so I got to train a lot in 2003, 2004 with the World Olympic guys. So I went to Colorado Springs a ton and would be there for weeks and work out with Eric and Jamil. And the problem is that when you get there and you're a good partner, and at the same time you're a competitive partner, all of a sudden they'll throw you to the wolves. So I mean, I remember they're like, all right, we got match day today, and I'm a 49 pounder, and they're like, Espo, you got Joe Williams today. And I'm like, what the? And like, Joe cut a lot of weight to get to 74 kilos or whatever it was at the time. And if anyone in the audience would know, everyone will say, like, I think like the dream matchup that if you could do a fantasy or a video game, it'd be Jordan Williams versus Joe Williams. I think if you ask the generations of who they think will win, you'd be surprised of what people think. Now Joe Williams, the competition was competitive too, but Joe Williams in the room, I remember just going up to him before the match. I go, "Don't hurt me." like you get me in a position. Don't hurt me, because I mean, he was fast, explosive, and he had arms as long as that. He'd just reach out and and just grab you with your legs, and it was just like, you couldn't wrestle with them. So I mean, I think those were times maybe of a whooping. I think, which I don't mind admitting because I was a young kid wrestling them. So like the sense of pride. Mm-hmm. I don't really know so much of wins, just because I think I'm sure there was times that I had some wins that gave me a lot of confidence. Making the junior world team when I was in high school, and winning that. Beating guys that have beaten me. I think winning that tournament, I wrestled Izzy Martinez. I wrestled Izzy in the finals, and Izzy was a JUCO champ at the time, transferring to Iowa, and I was in high school. And I think when I won that, then I was like, man, I made the junior world team in high school, which at the time it was way more rare to do. I think that was a moment where I was like, okay, I'm ready to wrestle, and I'm not only ready to wrestle like high school, but I'm ready to wrestle in college right away. And so I think that gave me a little bit more confidence also.
Sure. I was in college when you came up, a couple years older, but I remember you coming through and being like, holy, true, like you said, true freshman, right?
My first match was against Missouri when you were there. My first college match in Gallagher. I wrestled.
JP.
Was it Reese? JP Reese.
Yeah.
So my first match in Gallagher, I go out, and it was like, they're like, all right, they're pulling this true freshman's red shirt, and my first match against him, and I think he's ranked like 8th at the time or whatever he is. Yeah. And I shot in. This guy cement mixed me to my back, and I'm fighting off my back for I'm like my first college match in Gallagher too, and I'm about to get pinned, and I end up like getting up from it. I think I threw him, and then I took him down. I turned and I end up pinning him, But that was it. That was Missouri. Was my first match.
I mean, I'm biased.
I think you wrestled Skyler.
I wrestled Skyler. Yeah, close. Yeah, he beat me close in the third. I mean, I'm 100% biased. I thought you're pinned.
Yeah, I was pinned.
That's when we finally Missouri's just starting to get competitive at that time. Yeah, and I think it was.
I think
we won.
We were defending national champs, and we ended up we lost to Missouri in a duel.
The next year.
The next year.
Yeah.
I was a sophomore. Yeah, I remember that.
That was the first time Missouri ever beat Oklahoma State.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a huge deal for.
No wonder why John was so mad after the duel.
Well, 3 years before you were stomping holes in us, right? Like it was, it's like, oh, these guys. It's like, yeah, we're here.
Well, that's when Ben got there.
Yeah,
too.
that was, and Ben took Pendleton to overtime. Chris was ranked number 1. That was a wild duel. Yeah.
It was at a high school.
Yep, Hayeswood Central High School.
It was hot. I wrestled Spades.
Yeah,
I was up at 49.
Yeah,
and it was a crazy duel.
Super fun duel. Okay, last thing. I gave you a heads up here. Hopefully you're ready, but this is joke time. So at the end of the show, I like to give a day or two or a couple days heads up to think about something, but put you on the spot here, funny man, and whatever kind of joke you might have for us, Zach.
Right. I should have called Royce Alger a couple of times and asked him his opinion of jokes. He'd have been good. But like I said, I think I was talking to you earlier about this. I'm more of a little maybe in the moment type of funny guy, like witty, and say something. So to actually come up with a joke, but I'll go to my go-to dad joke.
Love it.
And I'd say, why'd the girl date the mushroom? It's because he's a fun guy.
Hey, zing!
He's a fun guy. Why'd the girl go out with the mushroom on a date? He's a fun guy.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So corny, bad, sorry.
No, I love it.
I'm a much better coach than I am a joke teller.
All right. Well, that's good because we're putting the youth of our country in your hands.
In my hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My library hands.
Yeah. So don't screw them up. I guess this last thing is, final word. We're going to let you have the final word here to say anything you might want to say.
No, I appreciate Flo. I appreciate you guys doing a lot of work. I appreciate that you grew your hair out. You look much better with longer hair. You got that Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, thanks.
Look to you. And just, I'm excited about this new journey in my career and in my life and my family. And I think it's a good time to say, like, a good buddy of mine. He played baseball. He played for the Cardinals.
Hey, go
Matt
Cards.
Holliday.
Yeah.
And I've heard him, say before, it's like when you say yes to something, you say no to something else. And, when I said yes to this job, there's a lot that you're saying no to. And I think the community of Stillwater is something that has been really special to me. Not only the team and the guys, but, your friends, my church. And, my wife. My wife's from Oklahoma, and Stillwater. I raised my kids here and in this environment. And like I said, it's just like I think I'm most appreciative of her and her support in this, and my family's support in this, because their lives change from this. And I think it's can't thank her enough for supporting me in doing this. And so I think that's what I'm most grateful about, and sorry that the country has to hear it, but I think those are things that as parents and as coaches that are taking different jobs, there's a whole different side of your life that people don't from the outside see, and and your home life is the most important thing outside your faith and it takes a lot of people to do those things and make sacrifices. So I'm real grateful for that. I'm grateful for Stillwater. I'm grateful for Coach Smith and his family. When I came here, I came to Stillwater as an 18, 19-year-old kid. And the Smith family, not just John, but the Smith family, welcomed me into their home. Spend Christmases. Heck, John's daughter Cece was my flower girl at our wedding. And Grandpa Smith bought me my first cowboy hat. And those are things that are beyond wrestling. I could care less about my wrestling career at Oklahoma State. I could care less about a lot of those things, but the impact that they had on me as a person, those are building years of who you become as a person, as a character, and what you are as a coach. And I'm seriously grateful for that. And I look forward though to this next journey. I look forward to coaching our youth, to coaching development, to be involved with the senior guys. And I feel like I'm in it for the purity of the sport. And, I want to help USA Wrestling and help everyone that, we become the best in the world at every age level. And that's going to be my goal, and that's what I'm going to wake up every day wanting to do and put myself out there to go do it. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to take you along on the journey, Bader. We've been kind of known each other for a long time, so hopefully we go on some overseas trips together.
Heck yeah. No, I'd love it. Love seeing the guys develop. Love going on overseas trips, and I've always had fun and enjoyed my time with you. So sign me up, man. Let's go.
All right, we're in.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Zach, and was super pumped that you got this gig. I know you're going to do a great job, and USA Wrestling and USA is in good hands. So thanks for the time today. Best of luck with everything, and we'll see you on that next trip.
See you guys later.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Okay, folks, that's going to do it. We are done. First show in the new studio is over. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.